Call this meeting, the Clay County Commission, to order. We will start with our invocation. Please proceed.
Would you stand with me as we pray? Heavenly Father, we come to you once again today to give you praise. We thank you, Lord, for your great love for each one of us. We take this moment to remember all those that are hurting following this tragedy this last week. We pray for Ralph Yars and his family. Lord, those that are hurting, those that may be confused and afraid. We lift up our community. We lift up our schools and our neighborhoods. God, we ask you that you would bring healing both to families and individuals. We ask you that you would help us to walk in truth, to acknowledge and to find our need for you as we begin this healing process. We pray, Lord, that you would be with us during this business session today. Lord, that you would continue to give us wisdom and strength. Lord, that you would help us to have courage to do the things to best serve this community. We pray, Lord, for its leadership here in Clay County. We ask, Lord, that we might experience your peace in the depths of our greatest challenge, that you guide and direct us each and every day. God, help us to know that you don't give us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of self-discipline. We ask you, Lord, for your grace and your love be present today. May the words that we speak and the actions that we take bring hope and healing and unity in our community. We pray all this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte? Here. Commissioner Withington?
Here.
Commissioner Lawson? Here. Commissioner Wagner?
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson? Here. Commissioner Johnson?
Here. I'm getting there.
Move to approve today's agenda.
Motion has been made for the approval of today's agenda. Discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Oh. Commissioner Wagner?
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry. That brings us to public comments. Is there anyone wishing to comment? Please come forward. When you come forward for public comments, a couple of points. Please make sure that the green light around the collar of the microphone is lit by pushing the button. Say your name and where you're from. And remember to speak in clearly because we're also doing audio as well as video recording. So I don't know that your microphone is on. I can't quite tell. There you go. Please proceed.
Thank you. My name is Linda Hetzel. I live at 13318 Plattsburgh Road, Kearney, Missouri. I've been a county resident since 1984. And I'm here because I value the community and have some asks and some suggestions. First of all, thank you for your service. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the new commission design as I've participated in previous commission meetings. I have noted from your minutes that you have a retreat coming up for May, and I see that the comprehensive plan is in the 2023 budget. And so because of those two things coming up, I am here to urge the commission to adopt a guiding principle for your retreat and the comprehensive plan as it moves forward. And that I am proposing is Aldo Leopold's land ethic. Are any of you familiar with Aldo Leopold's land?
Could you say that one more? Because I didn't.
Aldo Leopold
Okay,
His-
I'm not overly, so please explain.
He has a land ethic, and it is found in the Sand County Almanac. He's pretty famous, gets quoted in economics and business and environmental activity still to this day from his 1949 Sand County Almanac. It is a call for moral responsibility to the natural world. And at its core is the idea of a land ethic is simply caring about people, about land, and about strengthening the relationships between them. And many disciplines have used his guiding land ethic for that purpose. When we see land as a community to which we belong, we may begin to use it with love and respect. And maybe those are two good themes for these days. I participated in the original, or the previous, comprehensive plan of 2008, and I would be honored and delighted to participate in this rewrite. In the brief research I've done on comprehensive plans, I see that they are the centerpiece of local efforts. And it articulates a series of goals, objectives, policies, actions, and standards that are intended to guide the day-to-day decisions of elected officials and local government staff. So whether we choose to see it or not, nature is already a part of our landscape, and within which it is often taken for granted, especially trees. And we see that happening all around the county now. Thousands of tree corpses. So we need to come to grips and appreciate the benefits of nature in our ethic. Trees especially are important in removing CO2, providing oxygen, and mitigating the heat island effect. We are just one state away from lots of wildfires, and Kansas has the most extreme drought in the country right now. And trees can help prevent that. So my background is as an advanced community health nurse, and my theoretical background is a systems approach, and I would like to see your efforts going forward to include specialists in geology, entomology, arborists, hydrologists. There are many people in the community, county residents, who could lend to the planning process expertise and current research and data that would help us make the best decisions. So my ask to you is to allow me to participate, along with lots of others, in choosing the planning consulting agency that will take it forward, and to be included in the comprehensive planning process. That all county residents be invited and kept informed via multiple media, starting with a dedicated drop-down tab on the commission website so that it's really easy to find. And I have one question. Will you be hiring a facilitator for your retreat?
When we're doing citizen comments, we're not really, because of sunshine law, we're not really to be interacting because of the fact that it would be a non-noticed subject. But if you
okay.
talk to our administrator, I think she can give you some additional detail.
Okay. And one last ask, when the civic clerk does the agenda, if the time of the meeting could be included with the date. Since the time changes, it would help those of us that aren't familiar with the rhythm of the meetings note the time changes. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Next person who'd care to comment? Make sure your mic is on, please. There we go. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jackie Thorstensen, Clay County citizen and Volunteer Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association Airport Support Network representative for the Midwest National Air Center. First of all, I want to start off with explaining the role of AOPA's Volunteer Airport Support Network. It's taking initiative and recognizing an issue and the ability to identify and follow through on an idea or task, plan, or action concerning any and all of America's general aviation airports. It encompasses teamwork, service, integrity, which I think are self-explanatory, but also excellence. AOPA, myself, and the airport community want an environment that fosters pride and success in what we do for the members in general aviation and our community. I am not a lone wolf. Myself and the airport community want an environment that fosters pride and success in what we do for the members and general aviation. As a member of AOPA, the designated support person for Midwest National Air Center, there is a resource and backing of over 72,000 members. Personally, I'm motivated to action because I see an injustice, and justice motivates many Americans, and it motivates me. With my role of volunteer AOPA Support Network representative, I would like to first correct an error and apologize for believing and writing a communication letter recently to the Airport Advisory Board, you commissioners and the airport tenants, that an Airport Advisory Board had not met or been called to meeting since August 9th, 2022. Before writing, I had asked for verification from the Deputy County Administrator of Facilities Office and others, and each time the response was that there was no recall of when the most recent Airport Advisory Board had met, so I believed it was the last meeting that I had attended on August 9th. Upon attending this past week's April 13th Airport Advisory Board meeting, I had learned that the Airport Advisory Board had not only met on August 9th, but also on October 11th and November 15th, 2022. Although I would not consider these dates real recent, it is a significant difference over the 8-month period I had erroneously thought the board had not met. Considering holidays and the end of the year events, this makes the matter of the board not being called for a meeting seem a bit less apathetic. And I want to thank the current interim airport manager for his sincerest efforts and loyalty to the county and calling for the most recent Airport Advisory Board meeting. It is important work, I believe, and a bit of a big deal for the county to hear what the board has to say. As a pilot and a vested tax-paying county airport user, I learn and educate myself at these public meetings and want to thank John Davis for organizing everyone on the board to meet on April 13th. I'm hoping for more regularly scheduled board meetings of the future, as it is very important for the Clay County Administrator and the Commission that has ownership to know and hear the expertise of these boards. If I wasn't always beating a drum for the proven and qualified Clay County applicant that we have on file to fill the position of airport manager and wanting better management from Clay County facilities, it is also to give personal thanks for the efforts of the interim airport manager and Commissioner Joanne Lawson for attending the board meeting. Other than to publicly correct myself, I'm here today to submit to you the January 30th, 2023 sunshine request that I made for the previous 24 months of data on 100 low lead and jet fuel sales. I received a response that it would be $288 to have the request filled. The number of gallons and revenue sales for Midwest National Air Center and fuel sales will reflect the pulse of the airport. And of course, there's hangar rents, but I believe that alone is not enough to support and keep our airport in the black. And my question is, why is Clay County and facilities going to such lengths to be less than transparent when transparency is the front page of claycountymo.gov? Recalling the budget workshops that were so impressively done in November, December, and January that explained the general fund, law enforcement, parks, road and bridges, there was nothing on one of the county's greatest assets, our airport. Due to such an exorbitant price on the sunshine request of simply receiving airport fuel sales, for my curiosity of determining the health of the airport, along with no workshop about facilities or the airport, leads me to wonder why the lack of transparency. If all the financial data is made available along with just being an airport user that has witnessed a significant decline in services from mid-December to mid-March, it is my belief as a user, along with those numbers, there will be an indication that Midwest National Air Center has declined under the management of facilities, going from black to red. While there have been improvements in services in the last month, Midwest National Air Center has not returned to its former level of service. While approximately 23 original and strongly supportive letters for the smartest, most prudent, and simplest decision to have placed the proven previous interim airport manager had applied for the airport manager position has been loudly ignored. Those clearly communicated and written thoughts of the tenants, users, some of who are on the airport board as well, have fallen on deaf ears, while another previously failed path has recently been chosen. I want to go on public record stating that while a good FBO, which is an airport fixed base operator, will be much appreciated, a FBO is not a substitute for good airport managers whose loyalties are solely to operating the airport according to all governing regulations and safety standards for the county. Airport manager first, then FBO. I want to thank you, Commission and Clay County, for this portion of the meeting being public comments and allowing me to speak. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other citizens wishing to address the commission? Very well, seeing none. That brings us to our consent agenda. We have one item, Administrator.
The consent agenda allows the Commission to act upon items considered to be routine and approved in one motion. These may be items that have been reviewed by the Commission in a prior session. There will be no separate discussion unless a Commissioner requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. There is one item on today's consent agenda, that is Resolution 2023-143, approving payments for Clay County from April 7th through April 13th in the amount of $3,020,049.72.
Very well. Is there a motion related to our consent agenda?
Yes, move to approve today's consent agenda.
Motion's been made for the approval of today's consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner. Aye. Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Excuse me. First item on today's regular agenda is 144. Administrator?
Resolution 2023-144 is consideration of approving payments for invoices for the prosecutor's office from April 7th to April 13th in the amount of $1,740.25.
Thank you. Is there a motion related to 2023-144?
Yes, move to approve 2023-144.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2023-144. Discussion? Seeing none, excuse me, Commissioner Carpenter, you are recognized.
Thank you, Commissioner. Was able to have a conversation with Prosecutor Thompson, and I'm grateful to his time in what has been a very hard time for the community and a very busy time for him and his office. While we don't have a formal request for us today, I know Commissioner Thompson recuses herself on these matters, and so let me just go ahead and speak into existence. One of the things that Prosecutor Thompson mentioned, which was some funding requests to make sure that the operations of his office can be as efficient as possible and as safe as possible for the employees there. While we don't have a formal request before us today, I hope that comes soon, and would encourage the Commission and administration to do what we can to support Prosecutor Thompson in those requests. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further comments or discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
I'm going to recuse myself.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Brings us to the next item on our regular agenda, 2023-141. Administrator?
Resolution 2023-141 is consideration of approving the Clay County designee members and alternates to the Mid-America Regional Council boards and commissions. Included in the resolution is a various number of boards and commissions at Mid-America Regional Council, MARC, the regional planning organization. There are, I believe, 15 different boards and committees, which has the recommendation from Presiding Commissioner Nolte for members, and also the alternates for those members.
Thank you. Is there a motion on 2023-141?
Yes, move to approve 2023-141.
Motion's been made for approval of 2023-141. Discussion. I will just go ahead and say that I am glad that we have our expanded commission for any number of reasons, and this is one of them, and that is that we are able to field a broader and more diverse in views and opinions team onto the field. MARC is an important organization we participate in, and by expanding the participation of different commissioners, I think it will serve us well in the future. With that, Commissioner Johnson, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, sir. I was hoping that you can reiterate a conversation we had last week. Your name is on here quite a few times. I want to say 4 times. I could be wrong about that. But some people have asked why has he appointed himself to so many positions? And if I understood it right the way I explained it, that's because those positions are for the presiding commissioner.
That is correct. Some of the positions are specific to a particular office and not necessarily a person. So in those instances, yeah, a lot of times that is what happens.
Okay, so I just want to, other people who may have that same question, that's the reason why your name appears in there so many times, because it's specific, you are the presiding commissioner, and it's a position or presiding commissioner's position to be on that board.
Yes, sir. Further discussion? Commissioner Wagner.
Oh, no discussion, just.
Oh, is there any further discussion? Very well. You're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Keep forgetting to repress the button. That concludes our regular agenda. That brings us to discussion items. There is one item there. So, Administrator?
Yes, as the commission may recall, Clay County received a number of funds from the federal government for the American Rescue Plan Act. And as part of those funds, the county opened up applications to jurisdictions and services within the county to serve the public. And one particular area was our partners, other jurisdictions in Clay County, with cities that came forward and presented projects to the commission for consideration under the infrastructure. And under infrastructure with ARPA, those are for stormwater projects. And we have this evening with us Molly McGovern, who's the city manager from the city of Excelsior Springs, to provide to the commission an update on the projects that Excelsior Springs was awarded. They received funding for 2 projects. The total funding amount is $850,000, and they have 2 projects. One is the Stormwater Community Center at Century Park for $500,000, and the Downtown Excelsior Springs Watershed Plan for $350,000. And with that, I would invite Ms. McGovern to the podium to present to the commission the status of their projects.
Please come forward and make sure the mic is on.
Thank you very much. We're very close to finishing these 2 projects, and I wanted to give you an idea of what's transpired in the last year. These 2 projects were very time sensitive, which made it a big opportunity for us to be able to come here and ask for the funding, as opposed to seeking a grant that might take a long extended period of time, because one of the grants specifically allowed us to apply for money, and we did receive those funds. So we'll be able to actually implement a part of the plan. So the timeliness was very much appreciated. We could not have done this project any other way. The first project was moving the drainage for the community center site so we could locate an outdoor pool on the campus and utilize Powell Lake, which is located to the south. Improvements to Powell Lake were intended to increase the capacity of the lake and raise the dam so we could hold back more water that was coming from the community center site excuse me, and it also alleviated flooding downstream. The city took advantage of some low interest to refinance our community center, which made the funding possible for us to do the pool. So let me show you a little bit about, assume this is touchable. It's not?
Sorry.
So where's that?
Yeah, the mouse is on the drawer. Right there.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okie dokie.
Sorry, not touching.
So this is for the site adjacent to our community center. Let me see if I can. This is throughout the progress of the pool. As you can see, we're moving along. The pond is just beyond the site. It's on the other side of the road, and it's being worked on as we speak. So here is it's this one. Okay, so here's the pond. It is just a farm pond that we are trying to dredge out sediment, increase its capacity so we can accommodate more storage capacity. It's kind of ugly. I think this is. There's a great picture, but I can't figure out which one it is. Let's see. Possibly it's not showing up, but it's actually a view that shows you the entire part of the pond. The second project the city undertook was the Fishing River Watershed Project, and it enabled us to study some of the conditions that are causing flooding in downtown Excelsior Springs. And it's a big problem for the Elms Hotel and the Hall of Water specifically, as well as other property owners. So what the study allowed us to do was to evaluate and develop potential solutions to address the flooding and erosion issues that are occurring around downtown properties. And let me go to that study. Glad you don't have a big program planned. Well, as I'll continue on, the flooding issues in downtown we are susceptible to flash flooding, which is a chronic problem. It also causes the stream banks to be unstable around buildings. We have studied the inadequate bridge and culvert openings, the highly constrained floodplains, and also flooding that occurs over land. Let me try to advance this. We have made some efforts through voluntary residential floodplain buyout, which has taken place over the years. We've created a Fishing River linear trail that allows for recreational uses and non-development to occur. What our focus is typically a non-structural improvement, something that we can afford to build over time in phases that can take advantage of some of the natural environment to the north of us, which is where the flooding comes from. It's somewhere between Excelsior Springs and Lawson. So this is a map of the opportunities that were discovered in our exercises. And it's centered on, I don't know how this, okay. It comes down to these project areas that were identified. 4 project areas. I can't get, okay, let's try this. These are the 4 project areas that were studied. The first project area is the Dry Fork Greenway. It's located just north of downtown. It is where we have already purchased all the property through a flood buyout in previous years, and it was the one that we had the advantage of making an application for funding to make the improvements. Because we already own the land, it was something that we could implement within a period of time that was important to the grant. So this is Site 1. You can see in purple is the land the city owns. In the blue is obviously the floodplain. There are some pictures that show it as, this is the low water bridge. It's called the North Main Low Water Bridge. The grant we will receive is $3.6 million. It will replace the Main Street Bridge by raising it up so debris will no longer be caught under the bridge and also cause a larger problem with water backing up. Along the street, which is Kennedy Street and Main Street, we will be able to locate a walk trail so it can be used for recreational purposes. This map is showing you that we'll be able to grade some of the sites so the capacity will be increased of the stormwater that can be slowed down at the north part of town before it continues on to downtown. And this is an illustration of where the walk trail could be located, where the grading will occur. And here on Site A will be a recreational opportunity for the community to decide at a later date. The grant will not pay for us to develop the recreational activities, but it will allow us to grade the site so it can be ready for a future project. The second project we're referring to as Tributary 1. It's located outside our city limits to the north. We were specifically looking for large landowners, single landowners with large property ownership, and this property turned out to be a perfect solution for that. Our intention is to create an earthen dam that will again hold back water and do some grading and appropriate landscape materials. This particular tributary, if addressed, could alleviate about 40% of the flooding that is occurring from the Dry Fork. And this has a project estimate of $2.6 million. The next project, Project 3, is very close to what I would call the hitch lot in downtown. And to take out this project, it's about a $1.5 million project. We would buy one of the buildings that is actually sitting in the creek which will allow the river to return to the stream banks and protect some of the buildings with a retaining wall that is eroding from the north side of this creek. The last project is a little bit bigger than we're going to be able to swallow at once. This is Crystal Lakes. It is located outside our city limits. It is feeding to the East Fork of the river, which goes through our parks. These two rivers join around the, behind the Oaks parking lot is where they meet, and will have significant savings by slowing down the Dry Fork from some of the flooding that's even occurring on the East Fork. This, the lake has received, in its 60 years of life, it's a 90-acre lake that is 65% filled with sediment. And it would take 2 million cubic yards of sediment to be removed for it to have a huge impact for our downtown. That's about $120 million. So, as I said, that's a significant project. It's not something that we'll probably be able to tackle very quickly at all. And specifically because in flood funding, you have to show a cost benefit. It's going to be real hard to show property benefit to match that kind of expenditure of money. So part of the goal of Crystal Lakes is to lower the pool by 1 foot and raise the spillway by 4 feet. And that little effort could make some difference in improvements. Let's see, moving along. This was a particularly good slide. As part of the study, we modeled the Fishing River watershed. We also modeled after one of the rains we had, which was a 10-year flood, June of 21. And based on the modeling from that flood, and if we were to do projects 1, 2, and 3, this will show you about the flood depth reduction that we could expect to see on a 10-year flood. So right now, the Hall of Waters, which is on the East Fork, would also see a significant drop from just addressing the flooding on the Dry Fork. So that is huge for us. This one is if we were also able to do Project 4 in addition to 1, 2, and 3. So we have a final report that has been finished on this. We have received funding from DNR to accomplish the first phase project, and we are just getting underway to get that started and designed to begin on that project, and could not tell you how much we appreciate your assistance to getting this done, and we're excited about moving forward. So our next steps will be to looking for those funding options for us to be able to do phases 2 and 3. We will continue to work with Crystal Lakes as they identify ways that they can solve the problem. And part of that solution could be addressing programs for farmers that are north of the lake for them to alleviate some of the flooding that's entering the lake. So we'll continue those conversations, and it's been a good exercise for us to have those conversations. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any commissioner wishing to join this discussion? Commissioner Lawson.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that is a really worthwhile project. Well, our acreage is north of Excelsior. At one time, this little tributary that she's talking about, it swells unbelievable. And it had flooded the road at the backside of our property. A young man was coming down that road, hit that water. It was so severe, it took his brand new car off of the road and forced it underneath the road that, you know, the culvert, and brought it out into our property. Luckily, God with him, he got out of the car in time, but it just smashed. It was with such force. It smashed that massive car down, and it was just sitting in our creek and between our front and back pastures. And they had to, you know, of course, get a big crane in there and lifted it out and took it out. But that's how bad the flooding can be in this area. So great job. Good job.
Okay. Further discussion? I'm happy that we were able to work with the City of Excelsior and so many of our other municipal partners through the ARPA funding that we had. That's, I think, something that we all look forward to is more interactions with our municipal governments, because that's really where the bulk of our citizens live, are in incorporated Clay County. So we definitely need to make sure that we are working in a constructive way. If there's no further discussion, we will move on to reports. Administrator?
Thank you. There's one report included in your packet, and this is an update status report on the state audit. As the Commission may recall, in March of 2022, the county received the state audit that was a result of a citizen-initiated audit of county operations. There were 27 recommendations by the state auditor for consideration, and so we presented to the Commission a report on that and a dashboard at that time on how many items had been completed, how many items were underway, and our commitment for transparency. If we've updated that status report every 6 months and placed that out on the county's website. So this report addresses all of those 27 recommendations, and the final 5 that were being worked on are basically in the completion stage. So that report is presented to you, and we will post that out on the county's website for the public.
Thank you very much. Comments, questions? Seeing none, that brings us to County Administrator comments. Please proceed.
Just as a notification that the next meeting of the Commission will be next Wednesday, April 26th at 6 p.m. here in the chambers.
Thank you. We will go for now Commissioner comments, and we'll start with Commissioner Wagner.
Well, thank you. This has been kind of an eventful week in this county, and minus the hyperbole. I do want to say a couple things. I had the opportunity Sunday to do a walk for those who supported Ralph Ural. And there were a couple of things that I think people need to understand. One is that those who walked also included many of the students that the young man went to school with from Staley High School. And there were a number of folks in the Nashua community where this event occurred that also chose to walk for him. And I have to give credit to those individuals who did so and those young people that did so, because as with all incidents that are negative, there's always a narrative that people want to create. And sometimes that narrative is put out there in order to stimulate more conflict. And as someone who has grown up and lives and represents Clay County, you don't have to tell me the history of Clay County. I've known it and I've lived it. But what I think is important is what in the end we focus on. And for me, one is to focus on justice for this young man and his family. And I believe, and I agree totally with the comments made earlier by our colleague, that justice is going to come, and we need to support that effort to bring justice forward. But I also believe that there's a narrative about the people of Clay County that goes missing, and I saw it on full display on Sunday. And I will also give credit to those who organized that event Sunday, the People's Coalition, who made it about Ralph and made sure that those 200 people that assembled there, whether they were from that neighborhood or not, were making it about him. And they were not drawing others into it and creating something else that it wasn't. And I was very proud to join those individuals, and I was very proud of everyone that was there, because they made it about this young man. And my hope and my dream and my prayer is that that continues to be so. And for those, I guess, who were hoping that, or were expecting someone to come yelling from the rafters on behalf of Clay County about this injustice. I will just simply say, you deliver justice and then you don't have to. And I believe we will, and I believe that the people of this county will show their true colors, and that is one of inclusion, one of togetherness, and one where everyone is welcome here in Clay County, and they will defend their own no matter what color skin that they have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Lawson.
Just one thing, that was great, and I appreciate those comments because it is important. I have said numerous times as a kid growing up that I did, unfortunately, in the area where I lived, suffered a good deal of, just hatefulness and meanness because of my ethnic background. And for a kid, it's just heart-wrenching. So I think that we've come a long way. I think that this is a phenomenal place to live, and I thank you 100,000% for your comments. And thinking about that, one thing I would like to see the county do, I know that there was some concern about there being any kind of difficulty getting into the county or anything of that nature. So I would like to see some kind of a format set up so that were we to have anything, this didn't turn into what, and thank you, Jesus, that it didn't turn into something that, was confrontational, that it seems like it's going well. But in the future, if there is anything of this nature, I would like to see like an email blast. And that email blast would go in advance of anything occurring, would go immediately out to all office holders, all staff, and that way you can be prepared. And so I'm sure having all of our emails, that it could go in one fell swoop if we can start doing that. As it turned out, this was quite calm, and everybody did a good job, and our prosecutor's going to do a great job, and I think I'm looking forward to not a lot of difficulty over this issue. So anyway, that's all I've got.
Commissioner Withington.
So I just want to say I agree with Commissioner Wagner. I'm well aware of the history of our county also. I think we've come a long way, especially in my lifetime. I think we're more diverse in Clay County than we've been in a long time. My wife is Hispanic, my kids are mixed race. My kids go to a Title I school with, I think they speak 30 different languages at that school. So I think the Northland, Clay County in particular, has come a long way in my 40 years. I just want to say I'm praying for Ralph and his family and the community. And also I want to share my condolences with the Clay County Sheriff's Department. Retired Deputy Allen, he retired this past fall. Canine Deputy Sammy had an undiagnosed tumor, and she passed away Sunday. So I want to share my condolences with the Sheriff's Department. So.
Very good. Commissioner Johnson. Very well. Commissioner Thompson. Commissioner Carpenter.
Thank you, Commissioner. Largely agree with the comments of my colleagues and appreciate them, and appreciate everybody approaching this situation soberly and taking it seriously. There's a lot of hurt in the community, and regardless of your personal feelings about any of that, that hurt is sincere and it's real and it's widespread. And we have an ongoing obligation, we always have before this incident, and we'll continue to have one to make sure that everybody in our Northland community in Clay County and the state and in the country feel welcome and feel safe and feel every bit as loved and respected as every other American. And what I can tell you is that unquestionably there's a lot of pain, and there's going to be for some time, among other things, fear. If you're a young black man living not just in this community but anywhere, and you hear stories like you go to the door and you went to instead of street, you went to terrace, or vice versa, and within a second of that door being opened, you can get shot in the head. That's going to create fear, and people are going to draw conclusions from that. It's up to each and every one of us to make it clear that that's not who we are, that we must be better. Yes, we must get justice in this case, in any case like it. And, you know, I am a big believer in promoting unity and promoting togetherness. We live in an era today in which feels like everything just keeps escalating and getting more extreme, the rhetoric, and all too often actions as well. You know, I am not even on social media anymore. I haven't done a social media post in over 2 years because I've witnessed over the last decade what has happened to discourse in this country around politics, around race, around things like sexual identity and everything else. And the concern that is out there and the fear that is out there, I think is justified, insofar as people are identifying that we seem to be going in the wrong direction on a lot of these fronts. And so all I can say is I will continue to promote in this community as I always have, and I would encourage everyone else to do the same, to support people and rhetoric and policies and everything else that makes everyone feel welcome and loved and safe and respected, regardless of who they are, regardless of their background. We can do that. We're the United States of America, we're Clay County, we're our Northland community. It is possible to do. And I appreciate everyone who is engaging in conversation and actions that promote that, as opposed to folks who want to do the opposite, and there are a lot of them out there. So lastly, I'm going to just offer condolences to Ralph. You know, Ralph is as the commissioner stated, is a student at Staley High School within the North Kansas City School District. I went through the North Kansas City School District, graduated from Northtown. You know, my wife works for the school district. It's beloved, and he is a beloved student therein. The superintendent, Dan Clemens, commented on that. You know, an honor student and everything else. Of course, it shouldn't matter if he was an honor student. Every, kid deserves to be safe in our community. But by all accounts, Ralph is obviously a really good kid. Last summer he went to Missouri Scholars Academy, which I was one of the lucky few to go to Missouri Scholars Academy back in the day. I just identify so much with him. The biggest difference, though, ultimately is that I'm white, he's black, and I think it's a fair conversation to have, and not one that we should shy away from, frankly. That I don't think I would have gotten shot if I knocked on the wrong door that night. And we've got to do better as a society in terms of not engaging in language and rhetoric and actions that makes people fear others, that makes people resentful of others, that creates hate in people's hearts. And I think we got way too much of that going on, not locally. This is not a specifically local thing. This is a national thing. And let me just say to Ralph and his family that you are welcome here. We love you, and that's true for everyone else who calls Clay County home. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson, I believe you wanted to make a comment?
Yeah, I just want to echo some of those comments and kind of put it out there that there's a lot of work to be done in the sense that, there's a lot of lot of focus on Ralph and what happened to him, and I'm guessing part of that focus is because he's so young and being in high school and being shot. That's just a tragic thing, and I have kids in high school, so I can't imagine that. And my heart goes out to him and his family, but at the same time, I want to make sure that people understand that last week not only was Ralph shot, 14 people were shot in Kansas City. 4 of them are dead. Ralph's back home. 4 of them are dead. 14 people were shot in a week. We don't hear a whole lot about that. And luckily for Clay County, I don't know if luckily is the right word, but most of it didn't happen in Clay County. It happened on the other side of the river in Jackson County. But nonetheless, I think it just underscores the importance of law enforcement, our sheriff's department, our prosecutor's office, enforcing laws, having a zero tolerance to unlawful activities, no matter what they are, at the smallest levels. And I think one thing that's going to keep Clay County safe and to get us safer is having a strong support for our sheriff's department, for our prosecutor's office, and just good public safety. And you know, I'm a big fan of the broken windows theory, and it all has to do with the moral order of society and what we consider to be okay, and what we consider to be, you know, we're going to live with that. And we have to make sure we keep our standards high here in Clay County, and understand that we're not going to tolerate violence here. And no matter what it is, we have to make sure that we're seeking justice the best we can, and understand that, you know, we'll get one here and there that gets a lot of attention, but there's a lot of other issues going on that we got to make sure we're aware of. Like I said, Ralph was one, but there was 14 just last week, and 4 of them died. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you. I'd like to go ahead and comment as well. Certainly, our thoughts and prayers go out to not only the family of the young man who was shot, but this goes on, there's a ripple effect on these kind of tragic events are certainly wide felt. And it is one of those things that impacts our entire community. That's what it's about, to be a community as we are in Northland. When one person is in pain, it's shared by all of us. At least that's ideally the way we should be going forward. This is now before is within the judicial system as far as how this is being handled, which is the appropriate forum. And I believe that, you know, we need to make sure that that process goes forward as it should go forward. And I'm happy, I'm glad that nobody in this room has made any kind of comments that would bring politics to bear on that process. Everybody's comments this afternoon have been very much high level, very much in the term of healing and not of finger pointing. One of the things, and Commissioner Johnson brought it out, and that is there's a good deal of violence in the world we live in. And that violence does not respect borders, does not respect municipal borders, it doesn't respect rivers, it doesn't respect any demographic attributes that we may or may not have. One of the things I think that we need to focus on is to make sure that when we approach these kinds of issues, we approach it in the spirit of healing and of making sure that everyone feels safe, because that's what we're about here in the Northland. I think there's been some unfair comments characterizing the Northland in ways I think that are not constructive. And it saddens me to hear those comments, because that is not the character of the Northland. That is not who we are. We are, I think, an opening and welcoming people. And I think that we need to make sure that when we go through this discussion, that is communicated. This is not a community where hate is widespread by any means. This is not where intolerance is by any means widespread. Every community has its issues to deal with, as do we. But I just want to compliment my fellow commissioners for the comments they made and for the attitudes that they've expressed, that this is indeed a community that is welcoming, and one where we will be making sure that to the degree possible people feel safe here, and that when those incidences come up, that justice will be done. With that, that brings us to recess and adjournment.